So welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Stranad or Ballistic Gist. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload videos, you'll be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, those people that share my videos and leave commentaries and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. So lovely. I do my for you, and I thought to share where so many, Pankala people are reacting to these Afrikaner refugees, and so many of them have a lot to dash out. I have been stitching some videos from every other person's reaction. I decided to, let me know what, Pankala people have to say about, their cousins coming into the country. I'm just going to roll the clip because some of them have so many opinions, and some which even, stated that, oh, okay, they are. I'm just going to roll it. Leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We're just here for educational and informative purposes. Alright, lovelies, let's dive into it.
Only Black, Hispanic, Muslim, brown people can be refugees. Here is MSNBC saying President Trump is racist for granting a refugee status to a people that are facing a genocide. Play cut 243.
Well, in my view, what makes it different is that they are white South Africans. The president, in my view, has not hidden his racism behind a bushel. In fact, in his policies, whether it's removing government workers or, in this case, admitting white South Africans while denying refugee status, asylum seekers from other countries, principally Central and South American and Black nations, to come into this country.
Here's President Trump affirming that white farmers are indeed being genocided in South Africa. Play cut 244.
Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess, a G20 meeting there or something. But we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa.
It's not a rarity. It is the rule in South Africa. Now, if you are in the American left community, you hate white people. It's one of your thou shall hate whiteness, thou shall hate white people. Listen to MSNBC saying this is deeply and morally wrong-headed to bear. How dare you help white people? Let them be murdered. Let them be genocided. So let me be clear. If you're on the left, you want to say, bring in the world sick and the diseased in the third world unless they have melanin content like this. If you look like this, you are the enemy. If you look like this, you are evil. Play cut 253.
So deeply and morally wrong-headed and repulsive. But what has happened in this strange, bizarre world we're living in is that the Afrikaners have become the darling of these right-wing, white supremacist movements around the world. That it's like the lost cause for them. It's like the old Confederacy. They're held up as these white Christians who are being dispossessed of their land. It's like this is a modern replacement theory in a country where, by the way, white people make up 7% of the population and own 78% of the farmland. So it's actually, there's no injustice here.
Oh, hold on a second. Wait. Why do you think they own all the land? Why do you think that is? It's not for a lack of trying. They've tried mass reparations in South Africa. It just turns out that the Dutch Afrikaners, they're better farmers and have more skills than a lot of the native population that tends to, when they own land, they don't produce as much. In fact, the Afrikaners, white farmers currently produce 95% of the corn in South Africa, 98% of the wheat, 97% of the cotton, 97% of the citrus, and I could go on. Oh, so it's their fault that they're productive, so they deserve to die. That is basically it. There are approximately 2.7 million Afrikaners. It's time for us to call the bluff of the left. Go all in. You guys wanted to flood our country with third worlders from Honduras and Pakistan and Nicaragua. We should bring in 1 million Afrikaners and make the left swallow that meal. Yes, they're Christian and they're white. So what? They have an entire government that wants to murder them. And guess what? They might end up in Georgia or Arizona or Pennsylvania. Oh, you don't like that now? All of a sudden you guys are anti-refugee? You're anti-open borders? Sorry, it turns out you actually just hate white people. More than anything else, at your core, you are repulsed that someone might be called a refugee if they...
I had to leave a 5-bedroom house, my car behind, my dogs behind, my mother behind.
There are voices out there, including the South African president, who has called you cowards.
Yeah.
You've got other Afrikaners who are saying that you're not you're not refugees, you're opportunists, that you've abandoned the country. What would you say to those people?
I had to leave a 5-bedroom house, which I will lose now because I'm not going to pay for it. My car behind, my dogs behind, my mother behind. I didn't come here for fun, but my children are safe. If you're white, you're wrong in South Africa. You're a land thief, you are a racist. I had nothing to do with apartheid. Nothing, nothing, nothing.
What was it like when you were greeted by the Trump administration?
It was overwhelming. I didn't expect that because I thought we're going to be in a shuttle bus, taken somewhere, and we must start working. All of us that is there, we know we're going to start here from the bottom because we are the new people here. We're going to start from the bottom.
We have some big news right now. The white South African residents who are recently named refugees in the United States of America were processed faster than any other refugee group in recent history, at least since 1980, according to latest reporting. It shows the privilege that these white South African residents got versus other refugee groups fleeing from war-torn areas like Afghanistan, for example. Check this out. Refugees must usually wait about 24 months and sometimes 18 months for admission to the United States once they begin the refugee process. Here, the process was started on January 20th. Trump signed its executive order on February 7th. Just 3 months later, residents from South Africa, white South Africans, were admitted to the United States. 3 months versus 18 months or 24 months. It just shows that if you're white and you're from South Africa, you get to get streamlined into the United States versus other refugees. As always, spread the word. I'll do a full breakdown on my Substack, link to my bio, so subscribe for free and follow along for all the news that you need to know about. More to come.
Accepting these South African farmers is exactly what our country was founded on. Giving white landowners special treatment. We're not just accepting a few white African refugees, we're creating new refugees all over the world. It's easier for white people to assimilate to American culture because they look like me. That's why it's so hard for me to get along with my children. My kids make up 3/5 of my family, and unfortunately, they're only going to count as 3/5 of a person soon. These immigrants will assimilate. I mean, they believe in conspiracy theories, they're running away from their problems, and they're trying to pretend that segregation in their country wasn't that bad. They're going to fit right in. If your country voted to take away your private property, please come to America, where we will never do that because you probably will not be able to afford owning private property. They're running away because the Great Replacement is not a conspiracy theory. You know who'd make a great replacement for me is anyone. And we need more white people because our next civil war is going to be interracial. It's going to pit brother against brother and sister against sister. And from what I can tell, based on the videos I've watched on the internet, brothers and sisters are already getting pretty rowdy.
A white South African family just arrived in Alabama this week as refugees, and that's because under a new executive order from President Trump, Afrikaners, the white ethnic minority that once ruled during apartheid, now have a fast-tracked path to U.S. citizenship. Errol Langton, his wife, kids, and grandkids are among the first 59 Afrikaners to land in the U.S. since the policy was signed. They say they fled racial discrimination and threats in South Africa because they're white farmers. Langton told the New York Times that he feels safer in Alabama and even thanked Trump for the opportunity. But here's the controversy. Trump shut down nearly all refugee admissions on day one, but then he made an exception for Afrikaners and he called them victims of genocide. But the numbers tell a different story. South African police say 225 people were killed on farms between 2020 and 2024. About 53 were white farmers, but 101 were farm workers and mostly black. So why the exception? Well, here's the key point. Democrats and critics aren't attacking Afrikaners for seeking refuge. South Africa is one of the most dangerous countries in the world, and no one's saying that they don't deserve safety. But the question is, why only them? Why did Trump cancel almost every other refugee program, including for Afghans, Congolese, Venezuelans, and Syrians, many of whom are fleeing war, genocide, or death squads, and then open a special door for Afrikaners? Meanwhile, the Langton family says that they are grateful. They're adjusting to American life and might even start farming again. Until then, Errol's considering IT work. And as for politics, he says he'll be a Republican. And while he doesn't own a car yet, he hasn't rolled out a Trump bumper sticker. So who gets to be a refugee in America and why? That's the real story.
So I have a question. I work with the homeless population. And I know for a fact that we still have plenty of veterans who are homeless and also U.S. citizens that are homeless. So I wonder how it makes you feel knowing that instead of getting services for the vets and for the U.S. citizens, that this administration has now welcomed white South Africans, and they're going to get all kinds of help from the government. And I want to know, for those who are cheering the horrific deportation or kidnapping, because really that's all it is kidnapping, because there's no court orders and these people are just grabbing people off the street. They're not identifying themselves. It's horrific. So that's my question. What does everybody think about the fact that now our government is bringing refugees from South Africa? And he said something along the lines of they have a rich, long history of all that they've done, and now the way that they're being treated is horrific. So I want to know, the American farmers here that have lost their farms, are those going to these refugees? Are they going to give those farms to the refugees? The people who lost their family farms. So that's my question. What do we think?
If you are rejoicing because Trump is allowing South African white refugees, which are not refugees, into America, but you're the type of person that says, close our borders, don't let them in because they're black and brown people from war-torn countries, then you are the problem. See, it was never about the immigrants who are criminals over here. It was never about trans people. It was about your blatant racism, your blatant white supremacy. And you are now allowed to be that because your faithful orange turd is in office. So let's be clear. It was never about gas prices are too high, egg prices are too high. It was about, oh, I get to be the fucking asshole that I was raised to be. I was raised to be a fucking miserable cunt.
That these Afrikaners are some of the worst of the worst, and one of them has opinions that would get a black or brown person deported in this country. Little hard to say you're fighting anti-Semitism when you're bringing in rabid anti-Semites. Also, little hard to believe that this guy is experiencing such a horrible G-side when he clearly just shit posts all the time. And go figure, it's all just MAGA and Tesla bullshit. Again, little hard to believe that this guy is going through some horrible G-side when he's just constantly shitposting on Twitter. But he's a rabid anti-Semite. You don't see the hypocrisy of this MAGA? You're literally black-bagging PhD students for writing an opinion piece that was critical of Israel while also bringing in rabid anti-Semites with absolutely no questions asked. And that's because they have money and they're linked to Elon Musk. Again, some of the worst people in the world. He shared all kinds of shit after October 7th, implying that Orthodox Jews were unaliving Christians. That's all he really posted about, including videos from pages titled, Israel is an errorist state. How do you think they'd treat any college student here saying the exact same things, MAGA? They'd get deported. This is why no one has any respect for you and why history will mock you. There's never been this kind of overt hypocrisy, and y'all just covering up for it daily. It's truly disgusting, as are these Afrikaners.
You might look at this man's tie and think, wow, are making sure that refugees did not pose any challenge to our national security and that they could be assimilated easily into our country.
That's a choice. Okay, so we can all agree that the tie is ugly. And I think it's a shout out to the refugees from South Africa, because doesn't this tie look a lot like the old flag from South Africa? You know, the one that they used during apartheid? To me, it seems kind of like the way we might view a Confederate flag. If you're from South Africa and you are familiar with what this flag represents, can you tell me, am I incorrect?
I want to help contextualize news like this for you and talk about what's been going on in South Africa that would lead some South African white farmers to argue that they're facing violence because of their race and need to flee. I want to be really clear. There's no evidence that that's happening. UN Human Rights Watch, all of these kind of watchdog organizations are like, it's not happening, but Trump and Elon Musk are claiming that it is. Let's just talk about what is happening in South Africa. As you probably remember from your history class, South Africa was ruled by a white supremacist apartheid government for a century. Until the 1990s, they reached sort of a peaceful agreement to create a democracy where they legislated sort of equality for the races. Now, of course, I hope that we know that you can legislate equality, you can draft new constitutions, you can say all citizens are equal, but we know that there are other systemic issues that aren't as easily legislated away. And one of those is land ownership. So in South Africa, approximately 90% of the population is black, but black South Africans only own 4% of the privately owned land. Now, this is a really stubborn problem that has faced a lot of societies that are trying to transition from maybe a former colony or a government that was under kind of white supremacist rule into something that is more democratic. It's maybe one of the most stubborn, difficult things to address. For example, in the post-Civil War era, radical Reconstructionists in Congress had to figure out, what do we do with all the land in the South? Do we take the land from white plantation owners who took up arms against the U.S. government? Do we redistribute it out to now these formerly enslaved, now emancipated black people, 40 acres and a mule? I would argue, yeah, we probably should have done that, but we didn't. And it has led to kind of systemic inequality, even though on paper, right, maybe economically everyone has the right to own land, but really mostly white people are owning the land. We see the same problem persisting across Latin America, for example. Throughout the Cold War, you'll have the election of a, Democratic, very popular candidate. They're often leaning way more to the left, and they're maybe campaigning on the nationalization of resources that were maybe privately owned and sold off, often to American companies. Think like banana plantations, United Fruit Company, oil, that sort of thing. And also redistribution of land, taking land that's not being used by these foreign companies, whatever, and then giving it to landless peasants who need it. South Africa is facing the same problem, and their president back in January passed a controversial law that basically said, hey, if the government feels like it is equitable and within the public interest, if there is land that is not being used and the government has attempted to come up with some sort of deal to purchase that land from a private citizen and it is not happening, we do technically have the right to take that land without compensating the landowner. Has this happened? Has any land been expropriated by the government? No, not yet. But this is the basis of white South Africans claiming racial discrimination, because of course, if you own 96% of the land and then the government says, well, we can take land if we want, it's going to mostly be taken from white people because, they're the ones that own almost all the land.
I think it's up to like a week or so where these, refugees decided to find their way to the state, claiming that they are persecuted in their country. In South Africa, like they even go as far as to talk about how they are oppressed. And I just keep on thinking, like, I have been thinking out loud, like, how are they oppressed? Like, how are oppressors becomes the oppressed? I have never seen something like that, but they just digress. So these people decided that they were going to come to the state, and everything has already been arranged for them to settle in. Like, it actually happened that there is this NGO which VP decided to invest in. I think it is called Farmers Trade or Acres Trade. You could just look it up, and it's actually an avenue where this Acres Trade bought all of the farms that are meant for these farmers who are unable to carry on with their production. So now I think they're planning to, hand over to these South Africans to take over. And I was like, I want to know what people have to say about this. And this is it. So the first guy that stitched his video, who is actually known for all of his shenanigans, is talking about how, so it is okay for Hispanic or brown people to be refugee, but pan-colored people can never be refugee. That is just the truth. That is how the world has been. That is how the entire system has been built to be. Like, pan-colored people can never be oppressed. They cannot be oppressed, and this is the truth. But just because they decided that maybe South Africa is actually treating all of its citizens equally, maybe South Africa is actually treating its citizens equally without treating the other more highly compared to the other. This is why I think that they are finding it so uncomfortable. Like, some of these people like it when they are all treated special compared to other people. I think this is where the problem is. I think what is oppressed? And I don't understand. How can you are the one that came to South Africa from maybe somewhere in Europe to take away these people's land? They let you actually got some of the job, good paying job, and you own some of the lands, like, if not even majority, but you're still complaining because you still want more. I saw a stitch, I think it's a comment on someone's stitch, where a South African was like, oh my god, I have graduated and couldn't get a good paying job, so why won't I be a refugee? So because you graduated and you couldn't find a good paying job, that automatically make you a refugee. So what happens to a black South African who also graduated and couldn't find a decent job? What makes that black South African? Is the person also a refugee? Or maybe because this person is a black person, so you are meant to suffer, you are meant to go through hardship, through life struggles, but me as a pan-colored person, I am not supposed to go through that. Like, just listen to yourself. When I saw that comment, I was like, oh my god. So because you couldn't find a job, because you feel that you are not treated in one special way, that automatically makes you a refugee. That means these people that's one thing about these people playing. I have seen so many of their stitches, like some of them making videos. They feel like they are leaving South Africa because of black South Africans, right? Coming to the US, thinking that they are going to come to the US and have the privilege of exhibiting their white privilege. Should we tell them? Okay, I wish everybody the best. I wish you, South African, everything the best. But the thing is that try to be in your own lane. Don't go about thinking that I have arrived, or trying to rub shoulders with people that are already been in existence there. Like, you're a refugee, make sure you are using your refugee status and not try to be a colonizer pro-mass, because it's not going to work. Because some black people right now are tired. Some black people right now, they're like, they're very tired of all of the shenanigans happening. So maybe you need to rethink it. If you think that coming to the state is going to enable you to showcase your races and all of that, is not going to work. People in South Africa, black people in South Africa might take all of your shenanigans, but it's actually going to end there. Don't bring it to the state. Anyway, lovely, so just leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. Please, if you've not subscribed to this channel, do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, like, and I will see you, lovely, when I upload the next one.